Ahoy, friends. It's me, Dave Landau. After a long night on stage, I like to kick back with a captain's hat and a fine cigar and watch the Dennis and Andy show. These guys are huge nerds, but they're the kind that you actually want to hang out with. Enjoy them. I do.
Back us on Indiegogo.
Oh my, look at that. Hello everybody. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. And I'm not talking about the lady that was in that little oh my video I just showed. It is the Santa and his elf show this Wednesday before Christmas.
Santa, and then the one with the full hat would be the elf.
No.
Because the cowboys are full everything.
Santa Claus wears the hat. The dummy that doesn't understand that it's the week before Christmas and this is a Christmas show.
It is a Christmas show. And, literally, right before we decided, what do we want to talk about? What kind of guests were we going to bring on? I'm like, it's the Christmas season. It's time for giving. It's time to open up your presents. It's time for comic books and comic book collecting. So we thought to ourselves, who could we get to come in and talk collecting comic books with us just in time for Christmas? And who did we come up with, Andy? That's right. Larry Allen. He has been collecting comic books for a very long time. Not that we want to make him sound old, but he is older than Andy and I've been collecting comic books for 45 years. I am just saying, but we will have to talk to Larry and get the entire scoop of collecting.
We will do that. Let's say hi to some friends. Randy Howell. Hello. Randy says elves are required to wear sleeves as per the Santa workshop rules.
Therefore, I am Santa.
It's OSHA.
Very much by his comment.
It's OSHA.
Elves have to wear sleeves. Santa does not. I'm Santa. Thank you, Randy.
Leg Kick is in the house. Hello. Marcus is here. Hello to you. Guys, at the end of the show, Prater just showed up. What is up to you? At the end of the show, we are going to show you Kor-Drath.com.
What?
That's right. I made a website, Kor-Drath.com. So you can go check that out while you're watching us if you want. We'll go through the website when the show's over. There's some stuff on the site that is not on the campaign page because I have more room to play on the site than the campaign page. Hyperkaiju, hello. Dan, hello. Randy's already posted the link for Kor-Drath. It is in the description below. So you can go check that out. Blackjack is here as well. There's the link for Kor-Drath. And bringing our guest in, Larry. Hello, Larry. Hello. And there is the link for Larry's Facebook page.
Hey.
How you doing, Larry?
I'm doing good. Pleasure to be here, guys.
You got it. Larry has been Dennis has known Larry longer than I have. But Larry does a couple fun shows show promoter. We'll talk about those. Big time collector. If you want to know more about comics, Larry knows more than this guy, and that's saying a lot.
He does.
Because this guy, believe it or not, is actually older than Larry. I know it doesn't look it, but Dennis is actually, he's an old guy.
And since you all know that Andy is 1 month older than I am, if I'm that old, what does that make Andy? Thank you for the math lesson.
Makes me wise.
So, Larry, tell us a little bit, how long have you been collecting comic books?
It's a really long time, and I am old, guys. But my mom bought my first comic book, which was a Justice League 61, back in 1968.
I was
So
going to
as you
ask
can
you if
tell-
you remember what it was. So that's
I,
awesome.
I still have that book, believe it or not. But at that time, I was the typical kid. I rolled it up, stuck it in my back pocket, and everything. But out of the thousands of comic books that I own, that's my most precious book because my mother bought it, and it what started me into collecting. There'd be a few years there in my younger years between, going to school or whatever. I kind of got away from it a little bit, but never gave up on it. But I've been doing comic shows as a vendor since the late 70s. So as you can, there's the book.
That's the one, huh?
That is.
That's
is
it.
so cool. And the fact that you still have it is so impressive to me. My dad, it wasn't the first book I bought, but I was homesick from school one day, and this was in the 80s, and my dad brought me home a copy of John Sable #1. It was this brand new book. He had no idea. He just saw it was a #1, brought it home. Mike Grell, writer and artist. I still have it, so I plan to have it for a very long time.
Cool. But that's what started my love of the hobby. And it's kind of been extensive. When I first married Robin, I think she thought I was a hoarder.
Oh, and she doesn't now?
Well, actually, she loves doing the shows as much as I do and
Sure.
everything. But since I got sick and lost my mobility, there was a question if I was going to be able to continue during shows, and Robin said, "Of course you are." So she's pretty much helped out, and with the help of some good friends like Chris Rigo and Wayne Brown, at every show they unload for Robin and they load back up, and that's it just shows the tremendous good people that we have in the hobby, and that means a lot. Well, I got to show she's aggravating me, but Maggie, the hairy dog, wants to make an appearance.
That's okay.
Welcome aboard.
Is that a Yorkie?
No, actually, she is half Dachshund and half Chihuahua. They call them a Chiweenie.
Yeah, Chiweenie. Oh, I know what they are.
Ah.
I never saw
Yeah.
a long-haired one, though.
Yeah, they have the long. They come in, and I think that comes from the Dachshunds. They even have Dapples and First Thing in the Other. But this one's kind of my sidekick. But
That's
through the
Susie's
years,
that's Susie's pet name for Dennis, Chiweenie.
Oh. Well, and the funny thing is, I was running through, I saw that Ellie just posted Doge, and I was doing one of the test runs of part of my campaign module that I'm putting out for Kor-Drath. One of the players actually made a Doge, and same color and everything as your pup there. So that's actually kind of funny.
Yeah. But back to collecting,
Yeah.
I've kind of, of course, I'm like the average person. I like all the keys, but I tend to prefer Silver Age and Golden Age books. A lot of good Bronze Age books. Um, as far as new comics, I can't remember the last time I bought a new comic book. It's probably been 6 or 7 years. Uh, a lot of the new material I just haven't been crazy about. But then one of the things that I have a good clientele that likes to look at me. I'm probably have the biggest selection of Gold Key, Dell, and those type of books on the East Coast.
Oh,
And
really? Now, is that in your private collection, you mean, or your stock?
stock and private.
Oh, really?
Um,
Okay. Now,
I've
when
got
you, how many in your private collection? How many do you think you have?
my private collection. I'm going to say probably 40,000 books.
How many do you have? I'm trying to get a visual.
I have about 24,000.
Wow! Holy crap! I know
told
what
you,
his
Larry,
office looks like.
I know. I told you Larry's got it. Plus, I think he's going to be buying another house and another barn just to store all the stuff he's buying.
Yeah, and I mean that's after I weeded some of them out, but a lot of the old Gold Key books, uh, they've gained popularity, especially the Hanna-Barbera runs, and
Yes.
some of them like Hong Kong Fooey #1, sought after, but Scooby-Doo #1 Gold Key, that's the Hulk 181
Is it
of
really?
cartoon. Yeah, that book's gone, depending on shape, just like any comic. But that comics ranging anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000,
Now, what
and
year did that come out?
I think they come out in '72.
Wow.
And
Okay.
but there's a lot of those type of books that you know, and I remember the time, and I still have, and a lot of people don't have them. I still have a good selection of the old Western books.
I know
You,
somebody that has a
you,
ton of Gene Autry.
yeah,
Not a ton.
Oh,
yeah,
like
I heard
half a
that.
ton of
That,
Gene
that,
Autry.
that is a very painful story that you don't need to bring up every time, Andy.
Well, I can't
But
help it. Brought up westerns. Did you try unloading them to Larry? Or he doesn't even want those damn things.
He doesn't want them either.
Nope. But I kind of have a little bit of everything. Um, I just love comic books, and I'm always looking for. A lot of people, they like the keys, and I do too. But I like, and a lot of big time collectors, rare books. That's
Yeah.
what that they're looking for. Uh, that's like I posted it on Facebook, but the other day I couldn't believe, but I picked up a Dale Beatles, come out in 1964, and it's kind of a rare book. And this I've owned it before, but this one was in phenomenal, great
Now,
shape.
where did you find it? Like, where do you find these gems like that?
Well, this was a guy. He actually called me and
Okay.
hey, you want to buy these comics, and
Oh.
and he come by the house, and that was one of them that I bought. There was some other good stuff. Funny story, talking about where I find them. Last week, me and Robin was at the Christmas parade in Thomasville, North Carolina. Thomasville, to be such a little town, has probably one of the best Christmas parades in the state. But I'm sitting on the side of the road with Robin, and we're waiting for the parade to start. And this guy walks up and says, "You're Larry Allen." I said, yeah. He said, you buy comic books, don't you? I said, I said, I said, yeah. He said, well, I live like 6 blocks from here. Said, if I run home and get them, will you look at them after the parade? I said, sure. But that Robin, she said, you can't even go to a parade without somebody. But he said he'd seen me on Facebook and stuff. And, I bought some books from him and everything. You know, but back, like I said, rare books. And I like books that, are were low in number when they were published. And of course, I like the double cover books. I'll show you one of them in just a few minutes there.
You were mentioning Hong Kong Phooey. That I have that, and I know I picked some up from you because as a kid I was a big Hong Kong Phooey. I even had the lunchbox and everything with the thermos for school. And I those Hanna-Barbera ones are getting very popular, and I think a lot of it has to do with the nostalgia. The guys that are our age, they watch the cartoons, and we remember them, and now we see them, we're like, oh God, I remember how cool that was. So yeah, Hong Kong Phooey, Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, that was your typical 70s Saturday morning cartoons. But even going farther back, the Hanna-Barbera comics from the 60s are really, really starting to take off. Like Secret Squirrel, it was a one-issue run. Adamant, one-issue run. Frankenstein Jr., which I picked up a nice copy of that from that same guy at the parade. That's probably a $500 or $600 book. But a lot of the Hanna-Barbera stuff's really, really taken off. But like I said, I do a little bit of everything when it comes to comic books. I just, and I have a good eye for comics too. Somebody asked me, said, well, what's hot in comic books right now? And I said, well, that's real subjective because what's hot today may not be hot tomorrow. I see every time I turn, it turns around, and you'll see some of these books come out and they'll jump up there in price, and and then for a good example, we all remember the Death of Superman comics, back in the 1990s, the black cover and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And that thing back then was going anywhere from $100 to $200, and people, couldn't get enough of them. They were trying to, but now I see that book in $10 bins, $5 bins.
Dollar bins.
The funny thing is, Larry, I was one of the guys that paid our comic book shop that I got, that I had my pull through, but even way back then, they had ordered 155 just for the subs, and then they had ordered a bunch more, and they shipped them 12. 12 copies was it.
Really?
So when they came in, we were so shorted that most of us didn't get our books. So I wound up having to go through, I think it was East Coast Comics, when you used to flip open the comics, they had all the ads and stuff in there. When we found out we weren't getting them, I wound up doing it, and I paid 150 some bucks.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Nope, that was the only
I hope
way
you still
I could
own
get
that
it.
one.
I do own that one, and it is
it in the bag?
Oh yeah, it's the way it came. But it is literally not worth anything what I paid for it because I could not get my hands on one anywhere, and I wanted one. I just wanted one, but people were trying to order them in such bulk, and yeah, never happened. So yeah, I was one of those suckers.
Yeah, and so many people like the old saying, to each their own. Some people like the superhero books. There's still some of the guys out there that like the war comics or cartoon characters. It's just real subjective, what people want. And, sometimes, especially with some of the new, all of a sudden I call them dealers that are coming out on the circuit at some of these comic shows. They'll have comics there. It's new stuff.
Right.
And they're selling it for unreal prices, 10, 15, 20, $25. And it ain't but $1. And it'll probably be worth $1 50 years from now. Because they're pumping that stuff out. And, now if somebody's buying that to read or something, great. That's super. But if they think it's an investment, they're going to be really disappointed down the road. But, I do a lot with comic books. Always have. I've been into a couple local high schools. They've had me come in to do a seminar on comic books.
Oh, that's cool.
That is awesome.
And it was fun. I had all kinds of questions. Then another thing I try to do with some of the local grade schools, I take comics into the grade schools for like first and second graders. Of course, it's stuff that, it's going to be friendly for them to read.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to encourage kids to read. I've told Robin and stuff that one comic book might reach a kid and keep it from turning to drugs or something on, to me, I'd rather have him reading a comic book
I
than
agree.
sitting.
I mean, Dennis reads comics, but he still does crack. And I'm like, Dennis, the whole point of you reading comics is to put down the pipe, put down the heroin needle, and get out of the gutter.
But the funny thing is, when I do that, Andy gets upset because then he doesn't have his cash inflow.
That's true. I mean, I am the one selling him the crack. But
well, for those of you that don't know, so my X-Men collection, which I completed a few years ago, Larry was one of the dealers that helped me complete my X-Men collection when I was getting down to the nitty-gritty. Larry's been helping me. I'm still got a few issues of the Gold Key Star Trek, that I'm kind of missing out there. Larry always tends to have that, and Larry was always helping me with the Power Book and Record collections and stuff. I was getting a whole bunch of those. And Larry and Robin were always bringing them in. Hey, do you have this one or that one? If they were picking them up, they would bring them in. And I would just say, yep or nope. And, I've been picking them up. So when I say Larry can get his hands on just about anything, if he doesn't own it, he probably knows somebody that does.
I'm going to show you a comic I picked up at the parade from that guy the other day. Yeah, but it's an Incredible Hulk 141. Which was the first appearance of.
Oh yeah, I've got that.
That's Doc.
And this is
that looks like it's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it's good. Probably fine, very fine, and I mean there was some good comics in there, and it being the Christmas time of year. I'm going to share some great books. Christmas has always played a big part in comic books.
Sure.
Some of the old Dale painted books
oh,
were
yeah.
great. I love the artwork and stuff. They were great. And Robert probably has the best collection of Christmas comics of anybody I know. There's always dealers that they'll come running and
that's cool.
Matter of fact, Robin, I saw her at one of the shows and I was talking to her and I was like, "Are you buying comics?" And she goes, "Yeah, I made Larry go over and get those for me."
Oh yeah.
My
And
wife
here's
gets a hoot the fact that Robin collects like you do. Susie lets me collect what I want, and she'll kind of help me, but she just loves the fact that Robin collects her own stuff too.
oh yeah. Now here was another
Oh,
Oh,
day,
that's awesome.
1956, Santa Claus. That that is just an awesome cover, and you know. But another thing I ain't figured out, Robin managed to get these books free sometimes. And I'm like,
that's the
how are
power
you
of being a
doing
woman.
that? Yeah.
I tell
And
Dennis, go to a convention wearing a skirt, you pick up some free stuff. But he's like, nope, I only wear those around the house.
yeah, and here's a really another Dale that they came out with. Again, another awesome cover and stuff. I love the old painted covers.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
and this is not a Dale, but a great Christmas book, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Is that Harvey?
that was that was a series. There was about 15 or 16 in that series, but artwork was incredible in them, and it was a fun series. But show you DC and Marvel the past few years, probably since about the mid 70s, they kind of got on the bandwagon
Oh,
with
yeah.
some of the here's Superman and Santa Claus.
Oh, I have
You
that.
know,
That's a good book.
yeah, it's fun. You know, it's great. Now here's a comic that I picked up for Robin down at Dave and them show in Charlotte. A lot of people would have just ignored it, but when I saw it, I knew it was rare. Plus, it was a double cover, but it's a classic illustrated, The Christmas Carol.
Oh,
Like
nice.
I said, this come out in 1947. It's a real rare book, and it being a double cover, that's just icing on the cake.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but she said, I've been looking for that forever. I said, well, I told you I'd get it for you as soon as I can. And actually, I did a trade for it. I do as much trading as I do selling and buying, especially with a
Yeah.
lot of the other dealers. Um, but
And you said it was a double covered issue?
yes, it's double cover.
So
Double
for those
cover.
of you that don't know what that means, especially if you're watching it later, when they print the books, it goes through the stitchery and all the pages get laid on top of one another. And obviously it's supposed to be one page goes down, it goes to the next one, it goes down. Sometimes what happens is on the stitcher, 2 pages can get brought forward. In this case, it's a cover, so 2 of them get put on. So it's the same cover that gets puts on, and then it gets stapled together. So those are kind of rare books, and a lot of people like to collect those really rare covers like that. So that's neat.
I've got a few. Few that I actually bought off the shelf, too, brand new.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick,
Oh, yeah.
Eric says, where's Dennis's Santa hat? I'm disappointed. Eric, so am I. He didn't show up prepared. Larry showed up prepared with Christmas books. I've got a Christmas background. I've got a Christmas hat. Dennis is the Grinch. Was like, screw Christmas. I don't care. My heart's tiny. Whatever. Kids don't deserve anything. Everybody should buy me gifts. I'm like, whoa, dude, whoa.
You know, like the Grinch, when I came over to Andy's, my heart shrank 3 sizes.
I'm just glad it was your heart that shrank.
But, I constantly get questions from just typical people that, they'll say, what should I look for in comics and stuff? And I tell them, just buy what makes you happy. Just something you're interested in and go from there. I said, don't look at it as like you're buying for an investment, because, it might be worth something someday and it might not. You know, Silver and Bronze Age books, you know, whoever thought that they would climb to the values they are currently? The prices are starting to drop a little bit, but during all the COVID stuff and people couldn't go to shows and stuff, there was a lot of those books being sold online, and the prices just escalated, and people were buying them. You know, I guess they had to spend that stimulus money some way, but there was some overinflated prices on them books.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, their prices are starting to come down on some. And, you know, I love the book and I own 3 or 4 of them, but I never dreamed that the Incredible Hulk 181 would ever be
Right?
the book that it is right now. And I've never, other than the first appearance of Wolverine, I never figured out why. Because, you know, it wasn't a short run printed book. I mean, there's tons of them out there, and but it's a book that's highly desired. You know,
Dennis and I've talked about it. It just bothers me that they call that the first appearance, because he shows up. Wolverine shows up in issue 180 on the last page, full figure. How is that not? If it was just a close up or a silhouette,
the cameo,
or
like,
then you
like
go,
Gambit.
oh, it's just a cameo. Who cares? It is a full figure shot of Wolverine on the last page of 180, and how that
I
one
agree.
isn't worth more.
I agree. I never figured that out.
Hulk
But
181, Werewolf by Night 32. I mean, the first Moon Knight. Another book that astounds me why it's worth so much money when there's really nothing. At least Wolverine, you could say, one of the most popular characters of you know all time, especially of the modern age stuff. But honestly, Werewolf by Night, yeah, it's been around a while, but he just got the show, there's been nothing on him. Nothing in my mind warranted the value of that book.
same here. I just that's always kind of puzzled me. You know, some of the money that I could spend buying a Hulk 181. There's a lot of older books.
Do you
books that
own one in your personal collection, or a Hulk 181?
I do. I got one that's graded 8.5.
Nice.
You know, it's pretty nice. And I got 2 or 3 others in my inventory stock. They're not that high grade. I think one may be like a 6.0, and the other 2 are probably around 5s.
Sure.
Yeah, that's good. That's what mine is. I got a 5. So Larry, I'm going to show this to everybody. We talk about pricing, you know. So when we talk about pricing and stuff, this is an Overstreet book. These are ones that you guys can go out there, and when you open it up, you know, it'll actually show you, you know, you can look up your title. It'll tell you, it'll range it from, in this book, the grade of 2.0 to near mint of 9.2, and it'll give you an idea of grading. This is one way to actually value books, but in my mind, a lot of the newer books, the moment this book's printed, it's already kind of outdated. Yeah. How do you go around and kind of pricing, you know, your book collection out?
Well, first of all, like I said, I don't really deal too much with the newer stuff. I kind of watch it from afar, you know, if there's something that really was spectacular. But I do use the Overstreet Guide. You know, I call it the Bible of comic book collecting. There's 3 or 4 other price guides out there, but they're not as reliable as Overstreet. And sometime even Overstreet, I consider overprices some stuff, but it gives me a ballpark figure where I might want to try to sell that book. Usually I try to sell books, you know, maybe 80% of God, or something like that. And, and a lot of people that have dealt with me through the years, they know I love a deal. I learned a long time ago. My dad used to tell me, in sales, don't let a customer leave.
That's
Make
right.
them happy some way. And I try to do that too. But, we have a lot of fun with comic books. I've got my upcoming show on coming on. Hold on, I'll tell you the date. That shows you I'm getting old. Alzheimer's is kicking in. But March 12th, the event center in Clemens, North Carolina.
Yep.
Nice facility. We've been working on that. I've got a waiting list of people trying to get in. The show's just got really phenomenally popular fast. But my shows are we're all about comic books,
Yep.
vintage comics. You're not going to see like you do a lot of your shows. And I don't overflow the room with a lot of dealers because I want the dealers to have plenty of space. And of course, I want the customers to have plenty of space. The last show, we had a couple of food trucks, which we're going to have 3 or 4 this next show. And, but the last show, a lot of people couldn't believe it, but I gave a graded comic book away every hour.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Which was awesome. A lot of people liked that. And I also had door prizes just for the vendors. We had a couple of, I gave away a couple of gas cards, which they did that. But, it's a fun show. We're working on our next 2. I got a couple other things that I'm going to try to do at these shows. But, I've had people come from as far away as Pennsylvania to come down for the shows. And this next show, believe it or not, I couldn't believe it. I got a dealer coming from Arkansas.
Do you really?
And,
Wow.
Yeah. He called me and said, hey, I'm so-and-so. Do you have any openings? I said, yeah. And, I got his info and stuff. And I said, how in the heck did you hear about me? He said, somebody gave me one of your cards at a show out here at Little Rock. I said, what? I said, how my card end up in Little Rock? But, and then we're going to have the little mini con in July in Arcadia. That's always a fun show, especially a lot of people. It's a buyer's show, but I make it a good time. There's no admission. There's no setup fees for dealers. I'm going to feed all the dealers. Of course, I can't get but like 8 or 9 dealers in there.
Right.
But I try to get preferably some of the strongest dealers I can.
Sure.
And
We've been to it. It's a great show. And, we always walk out with quite a few books. Like you do, you bring in really strong dealers and they bring really good stuff. And, it's just it is a nice, fun, small show. And it's not something you spend an entire weekend, cutting out. You can do it in a nice afternoon.
Yeah. There's been some people, they ask, well, you do it on a Sundays. Why can't you do it on a Saturday? I said, well, a lot of people don't understand. When you go to doing these shows, the difference in price at the facility from a Saturday to Sunday can be massively different. And, that's why you see a lot of shows that they do it on Sunday because, the facility, is cheaper and it's easier to book. On Saturdays, you got to deal with everything in the world, all the other conventions and weddings or what have you. And, so far it's worked out real good. Uh, I have explored a little bit, even looking at some bigger facilities, but for right now, I'm going to leave it like it is, maybe down the road. You know, bigger facilities is bigger prices. And
Excellent. Well, fun shows, and I know if you guys ever, anybody who's out in the area, Larry shows are good. You always find some good books. And I know one thing we always get asked at, when we look at your show. So for those people that know, you have your raw books, which are just your regular books that, you pick up. And then there's when we talk slabbed or graded books. So Larry was talking about some of his books. This is one of Andy's, it's his whiz. He's got a 4.0. So it's already slabbed. It's encased. It's protected. So Larry, what do you get asked for the most, or what kind of split are we talking? What do people tend to ask you for?
well, actually, I probably sell more of the ungraded books, but there is a huge popularity of slabs, and it's growing and stuff. But you still have a lot of people that actually like to be able to open the book and look at the pages and, read them and that sort of thing. Plus, slabs, I don't know what it is about them. I mean, I own a ton of slabs, but, I really prefer the non-graded books.
Sure.
We, used to be you just had CGC and PGX. Now you got CBCS on come about, and you got, what is it, AGC, a new one on the block. And
and realistically, PGX for me has kind of fallen by the wayside. I usually will do CGC or CBCS. Randy's asking about what they're slabbed with, and it's very tough to see. So the outer ones are a solid hard shell. So it'll give you, it'll give you the grade, it'll give you the title, when it was published, it'll say who drew it, who the writer and everything was. But then what it is, as in the inside, it's basically almost like a double. So it's got a protective sheath that they actually go in, and it locks them into place. They set that inside of the hard shell, then they encapsulate everything in there. So the good news is, if I sit here and go, oops, and drop Andy's book, it's going to be just as good of a shape as it was. His eyes will get big because I dropped his book, but I'll pick it up and it'll be fine.
I'll still charge him.
But, whereas, if you take in a raw one, even this one's in, he's got a bag and a board on it. And if you do drop it, it can bend the corner. And if it drops hard enough, it'll do it. So at least this protects your book. For me, I like raw books because I like to read most of my books. If it's a really big key, like my X-Men #1, that I went and got signed by Stan Lee, I want that slab because I just want it protected. A lot of my good collectibles, I will get 2 copies. I will get one that I can still open up and read, so I want a raw copy, and then I will buy myself a really good slab copy to keep. And everybody's different. I get some collectors, they're what we call the 9.8 guys. They only want comic books that are graded 9.8 or higher, which is basically a mint book.
So Dennis likes Five Guys, the restaurant, you sickos, and he likes it raw.
I do. I like the raw books.
He likes raw Five Guys.
And now we know Andy.
There should be punctuation in that sentence, so there's a comma. But, I just like to rattle it off nice and quick.
One of the biggest dislikes I have of graded books, and it's nothing to do with graded, but it's the turnaround time to get them, like from CGC and stuff, sometimes right now, I got a book back from CGC that I sent that out like 14 months ago, and
Wow.
just now getting it back. And you know, so that's one of the things I dislike. And I know, like Dennis said, PGX has kind of fell off, but there's still a lot of people that are using them. But I'm hoping with CBCS and its new EGC or whatever it is, and that competition's going to force some prices to come down, and also maybe improve the turnaround time. So that's what I hope for.
Yeah. So Randy says it has air inside. I mean, the amount of air that's inside a CGC slab is probably minimal, I would think.
Yeah, his point is, I wonder if it's truly valuable, if you get it encased with a neutral gas. So, and I know what you're saying about historical documents, because any amount of actual oxygen over time will actually brittle the book. And, one of the great things about old comics, and some of us like it, when you open them up, you smell it, and you can smell the 1960s or the 1970s in there. And any of you that are out there, you'll know what I'm saying when I do it, because it'll click, because they have such a unique smell.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is interesting for those really valuable books. So perhaps they'll find a way to do it with something like an Action #1 or something like that. Who knows? Be very expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Not only graded comic books, which, they've been grading like sports cards and stuff for a while now, but I can't believe they're grading the old VHS movies.
Oh, don't even get me started with that stuff.
I'm glad Jackson's not on the show today, because we'd be hearing all about it.
God, VHS tapes. I mean, I get it. There's collectors for everything. I mean, they grade toys. So, I'm not into it, but there are people that are. I mean, they grade video cassettes, video game cassettes.
Yeah. But I mean, I see that, run into that stuff, and I just shake my head. I said, nope, I ain't even going to go there.
I mean, when I kicked the bucket, I already told my wife I want to be encased in plastic and be graded. 9.8 Andy Smith, there.
They will have the same 0.5 grading for people as they do for your comics.
You bastard.
Right. But, you're seeing, like I said, a little bit of everything going the graded way. But I'm like Dennis. Very unique smell opening that old comic. I think it's an addictive smell.
Oh, it's great.
It is.
My wife hates it.
Yep.
My daughter, too. I'll do that in front of them. I'll be like, and they're like, ew, that's so gross. And I'm like, I love it.
I'm telling you, it's trigger from as a kid reading those books.
Yeah, it brings you back.
It triggers. It is, your smell is your strongest sense, because it affects your memory the longest and the most powerful. And when you smell that, you always go back to, oh my God, I remember like reading this when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in 1968 when I started collecting, I got $1 a week allowance, and I was always planning how many comic books I could buy and this and that. And I thought it should have been a federal crime when they raised the price to 15 cents on comics. I'm like, that means less books and stuff. I remember going into the, of course, back then you would see the spinner racks. You would even see them in grocery stores sometimes, or some of the old Woolworth. I used to get it at a little magazine store that was like a block away from where I lived. And, the old man that owned it, he said, "You kids get away from there." Always talking about the comics and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Me and my brother could go in there and we might be in there for 2 hours.
Sure.
You got to look at everything and everything. Um, God rest his soul. He was just a little bit of a cranky old man. But hey, he sold a lot of comic books, and but he had like a spinner rack full of DC, one of Marvel, and then there was one like it was kind of a mix between Dale, Gold Key, and Archie. Um, you know, believe it or not, you still see some people that like the Archie comics. I
Yeah.
never cared for them, never got into them, but you still got a lot of people that are looking for them,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
especially, the older ones, the Silver Age and that sort of thing. I know they kind of took a little bit of a jump, uh, that recent Archie show that was on
Uh-huh.
CW, whatever it was called, but it kind of got a little popular during that time, but it's kind of fell off. Back
Sure.
like I was saying, everything's subjective. That's like at one time, everybody was looking for the Walking Dead comics.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
Now
yeah.
I'm seeing them everywhere.
Yeah.
Shows in it and that sort of thing. There's just not as big an interest. Yeah, the number one's worth some money, but there's not a lot of them out there. And but I enjoy going to the shows. Uh, I go to a lot of different shows. Not only setting up. That's like this past weekend. We rode down to that little show in Conover.
Yep.
I
Yep.
just wanted to go down and look around, and it was fun. I got to see some people I know. Uh, but Robin said I'm the only man she knows that goes to Hawaii and looks for comic books. She she said all this to see, and you're out here wanting to look for comic books.
Hey, you
And
can tell her there's another one because
Yep.
I would do the same thing wherever I go. When we go on vacation, I gotta go look.
We were in Nashville a couple months ago, and he's like, "Oh, we really got to see if we can't find a shop down here." And it was like we tried, we just weren't able to get one. But it's always no matter where we go. Yep, gotta have a shop.
All right,
that's
we
a
gotta put a pin in it for now because time's getting tight. So hang out with us. We'll definitely have you back because we could talk about this forever. But
sure
guys,
thing.
I want to show the Kor-Drath website. So Kor-Drath.com, just like it's spelled. Of course, the main link is Kor-Drath The Reckoning on Indiegogo. The link is in the description below for that. But if you go to the website, there's more stuff. There's a button right here that says Order Now, so you can click on that, take you to Indiegogo. The home page, just take you guys through it, has the video, a little write-up, the cover, some stuff you won't see on the website. So obviously we have a creator page. So tells a little bit. Where the hell did my mouse go? I always have a hard time finding it. Oh, Dennis, I opened the door for you.
I know, but this is a rated G show unless you're on it.
So meet the guys. Little write up about us. I'm the handsome one on the left, of course, and then there's Dennis on the right. Actually, I will say, that's a rather stunning picture of Dennis.
See,
Look at that.
in one of my many travels, he just randomly picked one. I'm like, it didn't matter which one you picked. I look the same.
That's a headshot. He does have a green base shirt on, so no points for that, but I cropped in tight. And then the cover gallery, you can click on these, and they'll pop open into a different window. So there you go. Check that out. We've got, let's see, interior pages. So this is not, so the campaign does have a few of the pages. If you'd like to read pages 1 through 8, they're right here.
You can get a good flavor for the setting of the world that is being created and kind of the setup for the story and see if that doesn't pique your interest, and I bet it will.
That's right. So pages 1 through 8, you can now read them. They're bigger, as you can see. Well, it all depends on how big your monitor is, but you can look at them nice. and Large is in charge, so you can head over there to read those. Let's see, we've got the characters. These are from the campaign. I want to get to some new stuff. Okay, so the role playing game, that explains that. Like the campaign.
I just tested, ran through my first beta test of part of the module yesterday with a new group of players. So working diligently on that one.
There you go. So you can check that out. And then there is more. Of course, we've talked about the characters that are playable. Now, Lilith will be playable. She will be a card that everybody gets 7x10, just like the Kor-Drath and Adriana, once we hit the $80,000 stretch goal. So we have got to we've got to hit that so everybody gets that card. Let's see, we've got the Shattered Reach map, so you can look at this bigger as well. Then on the campaign page, and this everybody's already getting.
Yep, that stretch goal's already been reached. So this will help you as we go through the new and exotic lands of the world that's being built. This is a great key and something to help everybody, keep everything together.
And then I wanted to show, because there's only so much room on a campaign page. So Kor-Drath, The Reckoning, Black, White, and Raw, which is the art edition of the book where I'm scanning all my artwork in full color. So I've actually uploaded to the website a couple of the pages so you can see what they'll look like in the book. So it's probably hard to tell here, but if you go to the website, you'll see that you can see the blue line from the page template that I use. I have Kor-Drath printed at the top of every page. You'll see white out, the gradations in ink, pencil smudges. It's literally going to be a book like you're holding the original art in your hands for the whole story, all the covers, Bud Root's cover, Bart Sears's module cover. So you can go check that out as well and see some of the different pages from it. That obviously all the pages are going to be included, but I just want to show some of the interior of what the book would look like. There might be some captions with some commentary once I get to the design stage of the book. Once it's all done, we'll figure it out. So head on over, Kor-Drath.com. You can go to the campaign from there as well.
And for all you great collectors, since you're asking, these will be a lot of first appearances. It'll be the first appearance of Kor-Drath, Adriana, Lilith,
Necronite.
The Necronite. Oh, yeah. Not to mention, it will be my first published writing work. And we all know Andy's had a lot of printed stuff. But there's a lot of firsts in this book.
And Randy pointed out we picked up another backer. We sure did. We're at 1,600. Wait, we're at 11. My eyes. I want to be at 1,600 backers, and I can do it with your help, guys. Share it out. We're at
1,160.
1,160. Let's keep sharing. Sharing is caring. So let's do that, guys.
But this is a great way to help put out some of this because we've been shadow banned, on Indiegogo. So we are finding other ways of getting the messages out, and you guys are finding ways. So we love you all for doing this.
Yeah, we so appreciate your support in the campaign and helping us out because that's what it's about. The more people that can reach, the better. And obviously it just helps us be able to afford to do the book. I've said it before, you look at that number and it is a very nice number. And, when people that reach a number like this and are still asking for support, sometimes people will say, come on, you're fine. Look at what you've reached. Guys, I can tell you right now, when you take out printing costs and all that, we're not making any money yet. So we're covering expenses.
We are hoping to get into black soon.
Yeah, we're hoping to get into the black soon. We're still in the red. So printing ain't cheap, and obviously we pay ourselves to do the work. So, help spread the word and check it out. Rainey says, visit Kor-Drath.com and raise its profile with search engines. That's another thing I got to look into as well is search engine optimization and stuff.
But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and we just want you guys to know we are working hard to give you the best possible product.
That's right. Let's look at some more comments. Flawless Dan Lawless. That's good. I like that.
That is. That rhymes. Love it. He loves that too, I bet.
I bet. That rings a nice bell. Joe Bernardo's in the chat. Hello. Past Master Dan says, we make a lovely couple. We do. I'm the Steve Martin. He's the John Candy, if you couldn't figure that out. I tell them all the time, they're not pillows, Dennis. Melikaliki Maka is the ta-na-na. Aloha to you, Joe Bernardo. Hello, don't worry about dropping in late.
You can go back in and watch it later. It's fine, Joe, but we appreciate you stopping in.
Blackjack says, Dennis looks a lot younger, clean shaved. You know,
my wife really wants me to shave and get rid of this. So, I said I'm keeping it till the new year. We'll see after that. But there's a lot of home pressure on all my family members to ditch it.
I won't let him ditch it. He needs to keep it. Makes him look like a tough guy.
Actually, everybody says I look just like my dad. He had a goatee for many, many, many years.
And his dad was a respectable man, which he's not. So
correct.
It's good that, he has that. Guys, we want to wish you all Merry Christmas. Everybody have a great Christmas this weekend. If you're in the midst of Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays.
Larry, you too, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
It was great.
Yeah, and we'll have to have you back next year sometime because we could talk more. I had more questions and stuff.
Yeah, sounds great. I really appreciate y'all's show and everything y'all do for the comic book community.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you. You too. Like I said, you're one of the great ones. So we love visiting you every show, and I couldn't think of anybody better to bring on to talk about collecting than you.
That's right. Guys, we don't know if we're doing a show next Wednesday or not. It is that week between the holidays. We'll decide. If you see a notification, then we did. That's why you need to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And on that note, once again, Merry Christmas. Bye-bye. Always with the gang signs.
Live long and prosper, everybody.
Man.
Certified badass.